From Syria's ongoing transformation to the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh and Donald Trump's bold geopolitical proposals, the interconnected nature of today's global events is undeniable. Syria stands at a crossroad. The ousting of President Bashar al-Assad on December the 8th marked a pivotal moment, bringing both hope and challenges to a region long mired in instability. A transitional government led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, is working to stabilize governance and address critical humanitarian needs. However, rebuilding a nation fractured by years of conflict reflects broader shifts in the Middle East and geopolitical politics, the global ones. Let's get in focus. As reported by the New York Times under the headline, Syria's new leaders try to unite rebel factions under a single government. Leadership in Syria is working to unify rebel factions under one centralized authority. Ahmed al-Shara, the key figure behind Assad's ouster, is spearheading this effort, signaling a shift from revolutionary narrative to state building. Shara's statement, "The logic of a state is different from the logic of a revolution," highlights his commitment to disbanding armed groups and placing all weapons under state control. This is a pivotal moment for Syria as its new government attempts to consolidate power and assert its authority in a deeply fractured nation. To help us unpack these developments, we are joined by Sirouj Abikian, a political writer and researcher from Beirut. A very good day, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us in the program. Sir, thank you for joining us, and we start off by how has the transitional government led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham managed to assert its control over key regions in Syria that quick?
Greetings, everybody. In fact, this has been a difficult mission for this transitional government, of course, specifically that all military institutions that were running before the previous regime were all dissolved. And Syria is right now establishing a new regime. And it is evident through Ahmed al-Shara's meeting that he is trying to consolidate and establish a consolidated army by merging rebel factions into democratic forces that are under the control of the Kurds. In fact, in his meetings, he convened some of the representatives of some rebel factions, and he excluded others. And we are now before some types of these factions. The first type is those who were invited to this meeting, and they are divided into three sub-factions. Those who actually agreed on joining the new Syrian army, and those who actually rejected this, and those as well who are still combating the Turkish intervention in the north of Syria. In fact, some factions want to engage in dialogue with the Syrian state and not with Turkey. In fact, some rebel factions express their readiness to join the Syrian army, and if they didn't, get their conditions fulfilled, they will start fighting on the ground. And they express that all the time. In fact, these rebel factions, in fact, have roots in fundamentalist and progressive ideologies. And so when people believing in these ideologies are working together under the auspices of one consolidated army, this is completely new to the Syrian state. In fact, in Syria, there has to be some kind of a social contract between the Syrian people in order for the Syrian people and its different sects to see whether they are going to be able to coexist together in peace. And
okay, sir, there are reports of internal divisions within the HTS as it attempts to project a more moderate image. How do you see this impacting their governors and the broader political landscape in Syria?
Yes, this is true. And, you know, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, is actually a fundamentalist kind of movement. And right now it is becoming more open, or claiming to become more open. And this ideological transformation or transition is going to create some ripples. In fact, within Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, there is a moderate current and another hawkish current. And Ahmed al-Shara, right now, since he is the leader who is going to lead the internal cleaning, quote-unquote, inside Tahrir al-Sham, you know, this is just him trying to put his best foot forward, and he is trying to change the mental image of the world towards the HTS. In fact, as I have said before, since Ahmed al-Shara is the pivotal person here in the leadership of Syria.
Sorry, because I have to wrap up this segment. Sorry, because I'm running out of time. Are you optimistic about the future of Syria in 10 seconds?
I am neither pessimistic nor optimistic.
Okay,
I'm just hoping for Syria, of course, to enjoy peace and security. But
we also await
so
all peace and serenity and security in Syria and stability. Thank you, Sirouj Abikan, for your insights. Syria's transformation highlights how regional changes ripple through global geopolitics. The stage for our next discussion. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz admitted Israel's responsibility for the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, Hamas's political leader in Tehran. This is the first announcement by an Israeli official of Tel Aviv's responsibility for the assassination. The assassination of Haniyeh and Sinwar, along with Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, has shaken the region. Katz's warnings of possible strikes on Yemeni's Houthi leadership further signal Israel's aggressive military strategy. Meanwhile, Iran's UN envoy condemned the assassination, citing it as grounds for Tehran's October 1st missile retaliation against Israel, which escalated tensions further. A piece in the Economic Times piece bears the title after Haniyeh, Nasrallah and Sinwar. Will Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu eliminate Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi? The piece speaks to a clear escalation in Israel's military strategy. Israel's focus appears to be shifting southward, targeting Houthi leadership in Yemen after significant high-profile assassinations in Lebanon and Gaza. This not only intensifies regional tensions but also raises critical questions about the future of the Middle Eastern stability. Is Israel prepared to engage on yet another front? And what would the implications be for its broader geopolitical goals? And let's delve into these implications with Dr. Mohammed Osman, our dear guest on international relations specialist from Cairo. Dr. Osman, thank you for joining us. And with the recent assassinations of key figures like Nasrallah, Sinwar and Haniyeh, do you believe Israel is adopting a more aggressive and targeted strategy in dealing with entities affiliated with Iran?
Thank you for having me, Rana.
Always my pleasure, sir.
Thank you. Israel is proceeding as it has been for the past few decades with its assassination policy towards rivals in the region and beyond. So Israel has historically assassinated many of the leadership of the Palestinian resistance, and this pattern continues with the current phase of the Arab-Israeli conflict, with the assassination not only of Ismail Haniyeh, which they admitted. They also assassinated Yahya Sinwar, the successor of Ismail Haniyeh as the head of the political bureau and the de facto head of Hamas in Gaza. They also assassinated Mohammed al-Dayf, Yahya Sinwar's right-hand man, and many other, even Marwan Isa, and also Saleh al-Aruri in Lebanon.
Sir, my question might not be very deep, but why is the admission of the assassination of Sinwar by Israeli cats now being very loud, and why? And when it's long been happened?
Israel is at a moment now where it wants to portray what it has achieved, allegedly achieved, in its wars in the region as victories. So the assassination of most of Hamas's senior leadership, whether inside Gaza or beyond, can be.
So you mean to say they're showing off, sir?
Yes, they are. They are, of course, showing off the results of their aggression, the results of their crimes, assassinating many of the leadership, and also assassinating almost the entire leadership of Hezbollah, including the historical leader of Hezbollah, Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah. So Israel is boasting about its alleged achievements and is trying to portray this as a victory, because on the ground they have not achieved many of their military objectives, including returning the hostage, the detainees, for example, in Gaza. So how do they compensate for that? They compensate for that by assassinating individuals, including politicians like Ismail Haniyeh, who had no prominent military role. And this, of course, happened in violation of the sovereignty of the Iranian state, nonetheless.
Oh, sir, mentioning the Iranian state now, sir, do you think that the Iranian state is weakened at this point, and Hezbollah?
Hamas has been weakened and Hezbollah has been weakened, unfortunately. That's a fact.
Iran.
We have, and Iran has been weakened, of course, by association. The entire Iranian axis, especially with the weakening of Hezbollah, with the weakening of Hamas, with the assassination of the leadership, and with the fall of the regime of President Bashar al-Assad in Syria. All of Iran's allies have either been dismantled or substantially weakened. So this is something the Israelis can gloat about. Yet, despite what they have achieved in this regard, if we can consider this an achievement, they did not achieve their victory goals, which is primarily the return of the detainees and the total destruction of Hamas. Which
their main objectives are not yet achieved, sir.
Exactly.
Okay. Sir, Israel has issued strong warnings to Yemenis Houthis following missile attacks, and there are discussions about expanding military operations targeting Houthi leaderships. Could this signal a broader shift in Israel's strategic priorities in the region?
Yes, I think now Israel will try to focus more on Yemen. They have already struck several cities and sites under the control of the Houthi movement in Yemen, causing wide-range destruction to civilian infrastructure, ports and power facilities and electricity stations and whatnot. However, they can expand this campaign further in order to be a more sustained and coordinated air campaign through which they can potentially assassinate or attempt to assassinate the leadership of the Houthi movement. And this, of course, will be a great escalation. However, it will not surprise us, and it will not be more significant than what they did in Gaza and Lebanon and Iran with the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh. So it will be just a continuation of a trend, because this is the final cornerstone of the Iranian axis that has been largely untouched by this war. But now Israel seems to be bent on trying to weaken them and diminish their capabilities and potentially assassinate their leadership. And of course, they are warning Iran that we can reach any of your proxies or your allies and your affiliates, and we can substantially inflict damage on them.
Sir, can Iran be back on track again soon?
Can Iran be threatened? Of course, yes, because the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh was carried out inside Tehran, about a few meters away from the presidential palace. So this was a disaster by all means for Iran. And also, with Israel's recent strikes on Iran, they seem to be keen on igniting an actual conflict with the Iranian government. And the only thing that has been preventing them was U.S. pressure. So Iran is threatened, and with the coming with the investiture of a new U.S. administration under Trump, an anti-Iran hardliner, things might be much worse for the Iranians at this moment.
Okay, Dr. Iran's envoy to the United Nations stated that Israel's admission of the assassination justifies Tehran's missile attack on October the 1st. How might this shape Iran's immediate response and its approach to regional conflicts at this point, sir?
Iran is trying to warn Israel that we responded against you, we retaliated against you twice, and we can do that again, basically. And actually, the Iranian supreme leader, after the Israeli airstrikes on Iran, vowed to respond to these attacks. However, with Trump winning the elections, the entire equations now differ, because now Trump might be much less restrained with Iran and might not place as many constraints on Israel. So this means that he might actually vouch for a broader military action against Iran in case Iran retaliates again. So there is talk of a potential Iranian retaliation. However, I believe if it ever happens, it will happen before January 20th with the
new administration.
Trump.
With the Trump administration.
Before the new administration. If they do that under the nose of the new administration, then I think they will be asking for a great escalation that Iran cannot afford at this point.
Sir, what role do external actors, such as the United States and Gulf states, play in shaping the regional response to Israelis' actions, especially in Yemen?
I think that the United States and Britain and other Western countries understand Israel's motivations behind attacking Yemen, and the United States and Britain themselves are carrying out airstrikes inside Yemen against Houthi targets. They might be very limited to deter the Houthis so that they would not obstruct international shipping. However, that does not seem to be deterring them. So if Israel takes an expanded action against them, especially under a Trump administration, they might not be very keen to constrain the Israelis, and they might support them in their aggression against Yemen, a sovereign state, of course, as we all know.
Sir, given the calls from former Israeli officials to expand operations in Yemen, and of course Katz's explicit threats, what could be the implications for regional stability, especially if Israel targets leaders like Abdul Malik al-Houthi?
Of course, if they manage to assassinate Abdul Malik al-Houthi, that means that they are dragging Yemen into the war, and Yemen and the Houthi rebels in Yemen, or the Houthi movement, will keep on targeting Israel. I don't think that the assassination will deter the Houthis, and it will only inflame regional tensions, and it could actually lead to the dragging of Iran potentially into the war. And it will also be very, very dangerous for international shipping, which is already threatened. Now it will be an active war zone, and the Straits of Bab el-Mandeb and the Southern Arab Sea will not be as safe as it used to be, or it will be in even more jeopardy.
Dr. Mohammed Osman, I know you're very busy today. Thank you very much for your comprehensive analysis. And of course, the regional assassinations and potential operations in Yemen are profound, highlighting the interconnected challenges and strategies shaping the Middle East. This naturally leads us to another critical global topic. Stay tuned. President-elect Donald Trump has made headlines with his proposals to acquire Greenland and reclaim the Panama Canal, raising concerns about United States foreign policy, economic interests, and global stability in many circles.
We can fix every single problem our country faces and lead America, and indeed the whole world. This is a magnificent victory for the American people. Promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again.
In a headline that feels both bold and surreal, Axios reports Trump dreams of empire expansion. The piece details President-elect Trump's ambitions, from acquiring Greenland and reclaiming the Panama Canal to floating ideas of annexing Canada and even considering military operations in Mexico. While these moves blend trolling with negotiations and intimidation, they underscore a dramatic shift from traditional diplomacy to a chaotic, unpredictable approach to foreign policy. In response, Greenland's Prime Minister firmly declared, "Greenland is ours and not for sale." One can only wonder how these plans will play out on the world stage and at what cost. And to explore these proposals, we're joined by Meher Abdel Qadir, a political analyst from Washington. A very good day, sir, and welcome to our program. Sir, what do you believe are the primary motivations behind Trump's renewed interest in Greenland and the Panama Canal?
You see, good afternoon, your time. And Trump, during his campaign, he made several promises, one of which is he wants to have a strong grip on international community and countries, specifically Europe and China. Now, he had indicated in the past, during his first term in the presidency, specifically in 2019, that he has an interest to get back Panama and control Greenland. Now, for the record, the United States of America had built Panama Canal in the early 20th century, and it was returned to Panama by President Carter in 1977. And the reason why the United States built it for economic reasons, because 70% of the ships that passes through Panama Canal are either coming from the U.S. to world countries, or vice versa, coming from world country to the United States.
Okay,
now,
sir, Denmark and Panama have strongly rebuffed these proposals. How do you see these reactions affecting U.S. diplomatic relations with these countries?
I think it will. It will, because right now there is a call.
It will what, sir? It will what?
It will affect the world stage. Yes, of course. Because right now, like for example, Colombia is in solidarity with Panama and many countries in the South America. Same thing in Europe. They are opposing to these things because, Greenland is a land that belongs to, Denmark. He thinks that, he wants to repeat history. For example, in the United States of America, Louisiana was bought or taken away from France. It was a colony for France. He bought it for $15 million. American bought it in 1803 for $15 million. Same thing, Alaska. He bought it from Russia, from Alexander the Great, for $72 million. And Alaska is like, 25% of the size of the United States of America. It's a large size. So what I'm trying to say, he's trying to repeat history that by force, he can, control a lot of things. His intentions right now is to pressure Europe and to pressure China because he wants to impose 5% tariff on goods coming to the United States. Under his theme, he wants to make America great by imposing, hard and difficult and large tariffs. So to bring, all them factories and the businesses back to the United States so that the United States flourishes. But it's not going to happen. American, for example,
we're going to see, sir, because we have to wrap up this episode now. I'm very sorry, but it's not long. A few days before the 20th of January, and he becomes inaugurated as the President of the United States. And then we're going to be watching and seeing what U.S. President Donald Trump is ready to be doing all around the world. Thank you, Meher Abdelader, for shedding light on these geopolitical moves. Trump's proposals highlight strategic priorities that will shape the international relations. And from Syria's transformation to escalating tensions in the Middle East and Trump's geopolitical ambitions, we hope our discussions have provided valuable insights. That wraps up this episode of In Focus. Stay tuned for more updates on Qnews.